your host, Bestie Katie. Hello, besties. How's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the 12th and last day of Bookmas, which is actually so sad. I cannot believe it's already over. And most importantly, welcome to my first ever book awards. And yes, I did buy this off of Amazon just for the bit. Today I'm going to be giving out different awards of all kinds. We got some for my favorite books of the year, some for my least favorite books of the year, and I'm really just going to be doing my favorite thing to do with you guys, which is yap about books. So let's go ahead and get into the awards. I figured we would go ahead and start out with like a more positive award. So the first one we're going to start out with is most likely to succeed. This basically just means that I've read the first book in the series and I feel like I'm really going to enjoy the rest of the series, or there might be a 5-star in this series for me. So most likely to succeed is gonna go to Spark of the Everflame, which is the start of the Kindred's Curse saga by Penn Cole. This is a fantasy series and I ended up reading it on Kindle Unlimited and it really shocked me how much I enjoyed it. In Spark of the Everflame, we are following our main character DM, and she is a human healer, and she lives in this world where there are mortals and then there are the Descended. The Descended are very powerful. They have magic and powers and they kind of control the world that they all live in. Most of them are very regal, very rich. They're like high society, and then the humans are kind of like lower society. And one day DM gets the opportunity to go heal at the palace, and she ends up learning a lot about the palace while she's there. She ends up meeting somebody and they kind of open her eyes as to their point of view of things going on in the world. And then she also has a lot of people in her life who are opening her eyes up to a sort of rebellion going on. So she's trying to figure out what she truly believes in, what she thinks is right, what she thinks is wrong, and where she stands on all of these issues that are going on. I have a feeling it's going to get very political the more that we go along, which I really do enjoy politics and fantasy. I think it's very interesting, and I feel like it always hooks me. I'm also very excited to see where the romance goes along with this one, so that's why I put it on here, because I am just so excited to read the second one. And honestly, just to finish out the series, I don't think it's finished yet. I think there's only like 3 or 4 books in it so far. So if you have read the rest of the series that's out so far, let me know if you guys have enjoyed it. I don't know when the next book's coming out though, but that's not my problem right now. I still have more books to read in the series. Next up, we have the award for most unique, and I feel like I could go a lot of different ways with this one, but this book just completely stood out to me. I ended up choosing One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I feel like this is the most unique magic system that I have ever read about. I will say I'm gonna try my best to explain it to you, but whenever you read this, you will definitely know that I'm missing out on a lot of things because there's so many different intricate ways you could explain it and different things you can go into. And I feel like you could never fully explain this to someone unless they just read it themselves. In this book, we are following our main character, Elspeth, and she kind of has like a monster in her mind. It's like talking to her and influencing her, and during the book, you're kind of getting this little inside scoop into her head and into the monster's thoughts and feelings as well as her own. One of the biggest things a part of this magic system though is there are these things called the Providence cards, and people are trying to collect all of them because there's like a certain thing that happens whenever you have all of them, but the power that they hold is basically you touch one and then you get the power of the card, which is super interesting and cool. I feel like I've never really read anything like that personally. There's also like a sickness that was going on in the land that was like super fatal and kind of scary, but I feel like we don't really know the whole story with that. And then there's like a mist too that you don't really want to get caught in. I need to finish the second one. I feel like I've been saying that in so many videos recently, but I need to finish the second one in this duology because I really enjoyed this first one. I feel like there were just so many different elements of this book that was just so interesting to me, and I just overall really enjoyed it and thought it was so different and unique. So that is why this gets the award for most unique. Next up, we have the award for most underrated. Now, I will say I did try and choose only one book or character or whatever we're choosing for each award, but there are some that I had to do more than one, and this was definitely one of them. The first book that we have is Just My Type by Fallon Ballard. I feel like if you've been watching my channel for a while, you've seen me yap about this. In this book, we are following our main character, Lana, and she is a journalist, and one day her ex from high school ends up walking in and she says, "Sir, what are you doing here?" He struts on in and brings with him a whole rivals to lovers plot, which I feel like is slowly creeping up on me and becoming one of my favorite tropes. I just find it so interesting and I love like the competitiveness of it all. Lana has a big habit of like serial dating. She's always with someone, and Seth doesn't really want to commit to anybody. So for this column that they're both writing for, the whole shtick is that they're going to swap sides and they get to give each other prompts and things to do that they have to talk about each week in the article. So basically Lana is choosing things for Seth to do to start dating more, and Seth is choosing things for Lana to do to kind of spend time with herself, think of herself first, and just like practice having time alone. And I surprisingly really enjoyed this book. I don't know. I just absolutely ate it up. Like I cannot explain to you how much I enjoyed this. It was a very sweet surprise this year. And then the other book that I think is very underrated is The Heartbreak House Share by Emily Merrill. In this book, we are following our main character Flick, and she seems to have everything figured out for her life. She's living with her boyfriend, they're gonna get engaged and then married, and then everything's just gonna fall into place from there. And then all of a sudden, that boyfriend breaks up with her out of nowhere nowhere, and she has to kind of reevaluate everything for her life because she kind of lost her identity in him. So the first thing that she does is she moves into a house share, which is like all random roommates. And then she also ends up making a 20s list, which is basically just a 20s bucket list. I really enjoyed this book because it talked a lot about friendship. It talked a lot about finding your own identity and figuring out who you want to be in your 20s and what you want to do, and really just like what life truly means. There is a big subplot of romance in this too, but I feel like this is a lot more of a women's fiction than anything else. And I really enjoy this. I feel like it kind of reminded me of like an Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez type book, but there's a lot of like real things going on, but it's also just very sweet and like cutesy at times too, and precious. Like the little romance bits in here, I just absolutely ate up, and I really enjoyed this book. I feel like the more that I've thought about it this year, the more my rating has gone up little by little, and I feel like if you're in your 20s, this would definitely be a great read for you. Our next award is the best book to TV adaptation for the year, and if you're watching my channel for a while, this will be no surprise to you. I absolutely loved reading this series this year, and the show was no different once I started it. Now, it didn't come out this year, a recent season did, I guess, but I did watch it this year, and that is the Heartstopper universe. Absolutely love these graphic novels. I love Nick and Charlie, and I will continue to yap about them forever. So there's that. The Heartstopper universe follows a lot of different characters, but we are mainly following our two main characters, Nick and Charlie. Charlie came out as openly gay last year at his school, and he got bullied a lot for it. And this year, him and Nick have a class together, and they just become really fast friends, and then eventually it just kind of leads to more. This universe talks a lot about things that a lot of authors I feel like are afraid to talk about or just don't. And I love how there are very deep topics in here too, because they need to be talked about. So I absolutely love that about them. And if you're ever wanting that feeling of your first love or nostalgia for your first love, anything like that, these are definitely the graphic novels for you and the show for you. The way that I get little butterflies in my stomach and want to kick my feet and giggle whenever I watch the show and read these, like, it is unmatched. Our next award is the one for most likely to reread, and if you've been watching my channel this year, you probably know the answer to that as well. That award is, of course, going to the entire Throne of Glass series. I already want to reread this, and I think I would if I wasn't already wanting to read so many other series and books right now. Truly, I have just never felt so connected to the characters. Like, I think about these characters all the time. The basic synopsis of this series is that it's a YA fantasy series, and we're following our main character, Selena Sardothian, and she's an assassin, and she's basically going through these trials to become the king's assassin, and there will only be one winner. I'm gonna leave it there. The best advice I can give to you if you want to read this series is stay off of social media, because I got so much spoiled for me, unfortunately. And I know this series has been out for a while, so obviously like that's gonna happen because there are a lot of people who have read it too, because it is just so popular. But I just absolutely love and adore this series so much. If you have not read it yet, I cannot highly recommend it enough. Our next award is the biggest disappointment. Now, when thinking about the biggest disappointment of the year, I kind of went back and forth on a lot of different things. And I ended up choosing a book that I was so excited about because the first one in the series was a 5-star read for me, and I absolutely loved it so much and had been waiting and anticipating the release ever since I read the first one. So it was months and months and months and months. And then I got the second one in my hands, and I was just kind of disappointed. And unfortunately, this award is going to Reckless by Lauren Roberts. Like I said time and time again, Powerless is a 5-star read for me. I absolutely love that book. It's so fast paced. There's so much romance in it too, and the fantasy system is so easy to follow. And I just absolutely and utterly loved it. Like, I ate up everything about it. So I was so excited for this, and then unfortunately, it did not deliver for me. This book was a big game of cat and mouse, and it just kept on repeating itself over and over and over again, and it just felt really redundant. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an author, but in my opinion, I feel like a lot of authors, from what I've seen, decide what they want the ending of the book to be before they really even go in and start writing the majority of the book, which makes sense because you need to know where you're going and like how you're gonna get there. And this book kind of just felt like she wanted that thing to happen, and she didn't really know exactly how she was gonna get there. And I don't know, guys. I was just really, really disappointed in this book. Somebody kept saying too that this was supposed to be a filler book. Now, in my personal opinion, everybody can feel something different. There is no need to have a filler book, especially in a fantasy series where things are supposed to be high stakes and action-packed and fast-paced, just like the first one was. And I feel like, honestly, this could have just been a duology, and I would have read a book that was like maybe even 3 times this size if I could have gotten a better paced book about Peyton and Kai. Now, obviously, if you love this book, I'm not trying to like yuck your yum or say that you have bad taste or anything like that, because there are books that I love that you probably do not love, and that is a-okay. Reading is so incredibly subjective, and I feel like nobody is ever gonna have the exact same taste as you, and again, that is a-okay. This book just unfortunately wasn't for me. Did I eat up the little bits of Peyton and Kai that were like cute and bantery? Yes, but did it kind of just feel very repetitive and redundant the entire time? Also yes. I'm gonna leave it at that. Our next award is for the cheesiest read of the year, and for that I chose If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This was a very surprising love for me, honestly. I ate this book up. I thought it was so cute and so fun, and I believe this is the first book in like a princess retelling series, but like in modern day, and they're all written by different authors. This one is just written by Julie Murphy. I've never read anything else by her, but I might have to because this one was just so cute, and in this one it's a Cinderella retelling. We are following our main character Cindy, of course, because Cinderella, and she ends up going on a Bachelor-esque show. And one thing about me, I love The Bachelor. I eat it up every season, every time. So when I saw that in the plot, I said, I'm intrigued, I must read. And I did. And I loved. Cindy loves fashion, and she's also plus size, so I kind of love how there was a lot of plus size representation in this book, and also talking about it in like the Bachelor franchise, because I don't think we've ever seen a plus size woman on The Bachelor, unfortunately enough, especially because it is the year of 2024. How has that not happened yet? So I thought that was really cool, and I don't know, I just absolutely ate this book up. I thought it was so cute, so cheesy and fun, while also talking about like real things, but more on the cheesy side. So that is why that got that award, and I just really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. Oh, Luke's calling me. Hello. Our next award is for the ugliest cry, and I'll be honest, I am a big crier. I cry a lot whenever I read, but weirdly enough, this year, I feel like I didn't cry as much for some odd reason. I don't know what was in the air. It just happened a lot less than I thought it was going to, and I ended up choosing 2 books for this one. The first one is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Oh my gosh. This is my favorite romance book of the year. I absolutely love this so much. In this book, we are following our main character, Clementine West, and she ends up moving into her aunt's old apartment since she has passed. So she's living in the apartment, she's chilling, you know, vibing, and then one day she walks in, and we're 7 years in the past, and there's a stranger there. It's like, hey, what are you doing in my apartment? And then she slowly figures out she's 7 years in the past, and then one day she walks in again, it's in the present, walks in again, it's in the past. So we're kind of going through this little cycle. She doesn't really know when she's going to be in the past, when she's going to be in the present. It just kind of like happens to her. This is the best story of like will they, won't they, and specifically the best story of right person, wrong time, because they cannot control the reason as to why they can't be together, which is just so beautifully done. And I absolutely love this book so much. Like, I don't know why exactly. Like, I'm gonna have to do a reread because I can't remember why, I guess, but I just remember sobbing in my reading chair while I was binging like the last 150 pages of this book all at once. I was absolutely obsessed. And if you haven't read this yet, I cannot recommend it more. It was so beautiful. And then also getting the award for ugliest cry is Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the Throne of Glass series right over here. I would pull it out, but then all of these are going to topple down, so I'm not going to do that right now. This book means so much to me. There are so many things that happened in it that were so pivotal for this series. I feel like she truly makes you care for these characters so much, and I just feel such a deep connection for them. Oh my god, I'm literally tearing up thinking about words on paper. This book is also 980 pages. I cannot count how many times I cried during it, unfortunately. And I think I just need to stop thinking about it or stop talking about it because I will simply start crying right now, like fully on crying. So we're just gonna go ahead and move on. The next award is for The Coziest Vibes, a book that you're probably gonna want to read this winter or even next fall, and that is The Storied Life of AJ Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This book was such a nice surprise for me. I zipped through this book too because it is under 300 pages, such a fast read. In this book, we are following our main character, AJ Fikry. He's the owner of a bookstore, and his life has just kind of slowly gone downhill. The bookstore is not really doing well, and he himself is just not doing very well either. And then one day, something just kind of pops up on his doorstep, and everything just kind of changes from there. This book talks about so many different themes and things, but mainly just like the human connection and about how having like a community of people around you just really can change your life. This book was also very sad at the end. I remember also ugly crying to the end of this book. I mean, like, it probably would have been an ugliest cry if it didn't fit the coziest, comfiest vibe award as well, because I was only trying to award things like 1 or 2 times. I feel like if you also love books, you would love this a lot because he is a bookstore owner. There's a lot of talk about books. There's a lot of beautiful quotes in here, and I just love the way that this was written. This is such a bingeable book to just cozy up with on like a cold winter day. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into some more like character-based awards. The first award is just my favorite character of the year, and that is Miss Aelin Galathynius from the Throne of Glass series. This woman is so strong. She is so powerful. I love being in her mind. She's so funny and witty too, and just so smart, like, and clever. Like, I could literally go on and talk about adjectives that describe her all day long. I just absolutely love her character, reading her perspective, and kind of like figuring things out as she's unraveling her plans and going through the motions of what she exactly wants to do. And I think about Miss Aelin literally on the daily. I literally have a shirt that says Aelin Galathynius on it, so I think that settles who my favorite character of the year is. The award for cutest couple, I couldn't decide on one, so I had to pick two. Number one, we have Jacob and Bree from Yours Truly. I just love their love so much. It is just such a gentle and sweet and beautiful love, and they are just such a cute couple. The way that Bree goes to lengths to truly understand Jacob and his anxiety and try to help him with everything going along with that. And the way that Jacob tries to go outside of his shell for Bree, the way that he really just wanted to get to know her and is just such a sweet person. Like, we need to protect Jacob at all costs. He is just such a sweet guy, and I absolutely loved reading from his perspective. The way that he like thought about Brianna alone was just so sweet, and I just absolutely love and adore them so much. And then we have another couple from one of my other favorite books of the year, which was Reckless by Elsie Silver. The favorite couple being Theo and Winter. This book was so beautiful. The way that they treat each other is so beautiful. There have not really been a lot of characters that I relate to like I relate to Winter Hamilton, and watching her be loved the way that Theo loves her was just so beautiful and honestly like kind of healing for me. I just absolutely love this couple. I love their story. I love how much they mean to each other. I love how it's more of like a deeper connection, and they're just like truly meant to be with each other. I love them so much. Now, also going along with that one, we have the best bromance, and that is also going to Dorian and also Kale. These two men from the Throne of Glass series love each other so much that it's just like, just marry each other at this point. And like, I'll be honest, Kale annoys me. Kale annoys me quite a bit, okay? There are some things that he does that aren't the best, but he did have a good character arc. And there is only one person he cares about more than himself, and that is Dorian, which honestly, same Kale. I can relate to that. We also have our most annoying character of the year, and I'm sorry, I'm almost done talking about Throne of Glass characters, okay? But I just cannot do a video like this without saying Adian. Adian. Hate him. Hate him. I literally hate his guts. He is so insufferable, so annoying. The way he treats the women, specifically in this series, specifically one of them, if you've read it, you know. But oh my gosh, like he literally made me want to cut off my head or just like gouge out my eyes so I could stop reading his chapters. And I think his were the only chapters that made me want to feel that way. So you get this award, Adian. Congrats to you. Probably the only reward you'll be getting ever. Moving on from that, we have the award for the best book boyfriend of the year, or just like my favorite book boyfriend of the year. And I ended up choosing Justin from Just for the Summer. This man is the acts of service king, okay? The way he treats Emma with everything that she's going through. And even though sometimes he's like, you know what? I don't really care if I can't be with her. I'm just gonna treat her right and just be her bestie and just be there for her, be so thoughtful, take care of her, give her a Google form to fill out on her preferences of dating, and then give her one to see how she thought the date went. Like, just thoughtful little things like that. Like, he is just an absolute king. Like, I feel like we moved on from this book way too fast, and we need to be talking about him forever because he is just a king and I love him. And also, oh my gosh, all the stuff going on with like his family and the way he just steps up for them is just so, oh my god. Like, I don't know what else to say. I just absolutely love and adore him so much. And this will be the last Dorian mention, I promise, but I could not talk about my favorite book boyfriend of the year and not mention Dorian. My sweet Dorian. What do I have to say to Mr. Dorian? You deserve the world. I'm in love with you. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're courageous, you're wonderful, amazing, show-stopping. I mean, I could really go on and on. I will just forever love him so much. Now, I don't think this is an award we'll have every year because hopefully I will not have a book that I never want to talk about again every single year. But this year, that book is going to The Scarlet Letter. Hopefully this will be the last time that I have to talk about it. I mean, honestly, sometimes I like talking about books that I do not enjoy because there are so many things that I have to say about it, obviously, and I love to yap about books. Now, this is a classic, okay? So I understand that it was deemed a classic because it was peak literature, I guess, for the time that it was written. And let me just say I have more than a few gripes about this book. First of all, we start out with a 50-page introduction to the story that has nothing to do with the actual story itself. It's literally about somebody finding the story, and then we finally get into the story 50 pages later. So that was incredibly painful, to say the least. And our main character, Hester Prynne, has a baby out of wedlock, and she basically has to wear this scarlet letter every single day of her life, and there are times where she has to like just stand in the town square with her baby in front of everybody so they can see her and like put shame upon her. Now, this is a very olden days type book. I would say it's more of like Puritan days, like in the Puritan Society, or honestly even like Crucible-esque. I don't know if you guys ever read that or saw the play. I have done both, and oh my gosh, the Crucible is so good. That was during like the witch trial days. It says it on it actually. It's mid-17th century is what it says. But everything about this is just so different to anything in society that we have today. I would never look at somebody who had a baby out of wedlock today and be like, oh my gosh, we should tape a scarlet letter to your chest and make you stand in town while cars drive around you. So personally, I just don't understand the logic, I guess, of that. I don't understand why people are so mean and hateful and that just really grinded my gears, to be completely honest. And there were little gossiping bits where I was like, ooh, I love a good gossip. Okay, let me get on that. And then we'd only have that for like a page. And then we move on to other things that had nothing to do with our story. And yada, yada, yada. I obviously understand why this is a classic. I have all the things. Like, there's symbolism. There's a lot of talk of other things. I just... That's going to be all from me on this one. Now into something a little bit more positive. We have the award for Best Dress, which is just my favorite cover of the year. When I saw this cover, whenever I was excited about this book coming out, I literally couldn't stop looking at it, and that is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This is just absolutely so stunning. I love cobalt blue. It is one of my favorite colors, and I just think it's so beautiful. I love how vibrant the other colors are too, and it's just so pretty and fun. Now, did I enjoy this book? Not so much. So we're not talking about the inside, okay? We're talking about the outside, and she is definitely best dressed in my opinion. Now, this next one I didn't read this year, but I did get it this year, so I'm gonna go ahead and quickly mention it. And that is this beautiful special edition of Beach Read by Emily Henry. We have these beautiful sprayed edges. I think that the cover is so pretty too. The sprayed edges also open up to this beautiful little sunset right here, and then whenever you take off the dust jacket, it's just yellow, and it says, "I feel overwhelmed that you exist." If you know, you know. Whenever I saw this for the first time, I literally wanted to like scream and cry. It's just so incredibly beautiful, and I'm so lucky to have this on my shelves. Okay, sorry if the lighting changed quite a bit. The sun goes down just like way too quickly right now, so just don't pay any attention to the lighting change. Anyways, our next award is going to be the most underwhelming award. This is kind of going to a book that kind of got hyped up quite a bit, and I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed it, but it just didn't do it for me. And that book is The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. I will say this one started off with such a bang for me. I was super intrigued and interested. It's basically about this girl who works for the Ministry of Time, and what the Ministry of Time is doing right now is they're taking people from the past that were pretty influential that like died suddenly, and they're taking them from the past right before they die into the present day. And our main character's job is basically to help get this guy taken from the past acclimated to present day. So they spend a whole year together. They're roommates. There's a lot of things going on. It's a lot more character based, which I feel like a lot of times I say I don't really enjoy a lot of character based books, but at the start of this, I was really enjoying it. And this is a literary fiction, but as we go along, I feel like there were a lot of things this book couldn't really decide what it wanted to do. Like at one point I was like, oh, mystery elements, and then I was like, no, just strictly literary fiction. And then there's also like romance stuff going on, and I feel like not really sticking to one specific genre, like that's okay. Like I love it whenever a book has a lot of different things going on. Like I find it so interesting, but this book just didn't really do it right. And then once we got to the end and things started happening, I kind of like guessed the things that were gonna happen, and it was just like wrapped up so incredibly quickly, and I feel like it was so underwhelming and disappointing for me because I was enjoying it so much at the beginning. I feel like we didn't fully get this wrapped up to the point where I felt satisfied with it either. I don't know, this just like really disappointed me personally, especially with all the hype that I was seeing around it, and it just unfortunately didn't do it for me. I will say though, the cover is pretty cool and really pretty. Next up, we have the award for most unexpected surprise. I feel like I could go so many ways with this award, truly. And I did pick two books for this one. The first book that I chose was kind of unexpected and a surprise in a few different ways, I guess. That book is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This book is the first book of its kind by Miss Ali Hazelwood. This is a paranormal romance, and the romance is a marriage of convenience between a vampire and a werewolf. Now, I haven't really read a lot of paranormal romances, but I feel like this book was almost wanting to be a fantasy book, wanting to get into all the politics and all the things of it all, while also having a mystery element, while also wanting to obviously spend time on the romance because it's deemed a paranormal romance. But I feel like the romance kind of like shifted incredibly quickly. I did enjoy the romance whenever we got there, but it was just like too quick and kind of like insta-lovey in a way for me, which was just too much. And the mystery part of this book was really interesting, and I wish we honestly would have focused on that a little bit more, and the politics. Like I feel like this would have been a great fantasy book if she really just would have like dove in and went for it. Now, whenever I say surprising, I think this was just surprising in general because Ali Hazelwood normally just writes like romance books. So I was really interested to see what this would like. I think I did enjoy it a little bit more than I thought I was going to, but the most surprising thing was definitely not something I was expecting, and I'm just going to leave it there because if you know, you know. Whenever I figured out what that meant, I was like so shook, and there were so many different feelings that I had around it. Now I do love werewolves, witches, vampires, all of that kind of stuff. Like I'm a big Vampire Diaries girly. I watched that growing up, and I cannot even tell you how many times I've watched that entire series. So overall, if there are any other books that kind of like have this vibe, but a little bit more of a straightforward plot going on, let me know because I would probably enjoy it. This second one was surprising in more of a different way. I didn't really love the other two that started started off this interconnected standalone series, I feel like I rated them very highly whenever I originally rated them at more of the beginning of my reading journey. But I feel like if I would go back and rate them, they'd be a lot lower than I rated them originally. But this one just stood out. It really had a great slow burn friends to lovers story. And that book is Daydream by Hannah Grace. In this book, we are following Hallie and Henry, and it's dual POV. Hallie's just kind of like us. She loves all the wholesome, cozy things in life, baking, reading, writing, all those sorts of things. And Henry is the captain of the hockey team, and he's an art major. He's just kind of trying to figure out what he wants to do. This is the third book in the Maple Hills little interconnected standalone series, so it's Icebreaker, Wildfire, and the Daydream. Like I was kind of saying at the time, I enjoyed Icebreaker a lot, and Wildfire really wasn't my favorite, but they were just too spicy for my taste personally. I am a big tension over spice girly, and I feel like the first one definitely had a little bit more tension, but the second one just didn't. Just kind of felt more insta-lovey and lusty to me. This one though had a lot less spice and just a lot more story. I really enjoyed these two characters. I've really never connected to characters like I have in this way. It feels like Henry and Hallie and Winter Hamilton, if you mix those three together, you literally get me, which is absolutely crazy, but it's true. And just the way that they think, like sing into their minds, it was kind of like scary accurate. And I was just surprised at how much I love this one just because the other two weren't really my favorites, but I really love this one. This is your sign. If you didn't really love the other two, I think you will enjoy this one. The award for most mid book of the year is going to Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This is an adult dual POV romance by Lynn Painter, and we're following our two main characters. The guy is an objector for weddings, and he actually objects the female main character's wedding. And then a few months down the line, he's like, hey, want to go objecting with me? And she's kind of like, okay, sounds good. I'll be honest, I'm deeming this as most mid because I just really didn't care about anything that happened. If they ended up together, if they didn't, there weren't really a lot of things that I crazy enjoyed about it, but I didn't really like hate it in any way either. Like I read it and it was like entertaining, you know, but it wasn't really anything special. I didn't really feel crazy connected to the characters or to the story itself. I personally love Lynn Painter's young adult books. I think the only one that I didn't really enjoy that much was The Do-Over, but besides that one, the other three I've enjoyed so much, and I think I've read 3 of her adult romances now, and I still really enjoy them as palate cleansers. They're super quick and easy to read, but I feel like sometimes she has kind of like silly things happening where whenever it's an adult, I just like can't justify it like I can in a YA romance, and it kind of like takes me out of the story sometimes. This one didn't really have that because like I just didn't really like care about this one at all. It was just like mid. It was just kind of like there, and like I read it and it was okay, and that's that. But I'm just talking about like in general with Lynn Painter's writing. I am interested to see what she does with like her YA books now that Nothing Like the Movies has come out. I assume she's in the works of writing another one, but I'm really hopeful that we get more YA work from her and that I slowly enjoy more of her adult work as well. Our next award is going to the most gasp-worthy book of the year, and for that I chose Queen of Shadows, which is right here. It is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. This book was an absolute wild whirlwind to the very end. I feel like there were so many things happening the whole entire time. Like literally there were so many moments where I would gasp and I'd be reading in the living room and Luke would look over at me. He'd be like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? I'd be like, no, it's just my book. Like, I'm good. And I feel like whenever you have that many visceral reactions to a book where your partner's literally like, you good? That's how you know it's a good book. I honestly wish I could go back and read Queen of Shadows specifically for the first time again because it was just absolutely so crazy. And I love that book in the series so much. Our final award is the most wholesome award. This is also for the book in general, but also just for the couple that I'm giving it to. And this is actually a very recent read. You guys would have seen me read this in my trying to finish my 2024 TBR video. And that book is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. And we're giving this to Bo and Win, the two main characters and the couple in this book. Win in this book is just going through so much, going through such a time of change, and Bo is just so sweet to her. He himself has gone through a lot in his life, and the way that Win builds him up and tries to help him, and the way that they're just there for each other, like they are just so wholesome and sweet. This book does have a few little spicy moments, I'm not gonna lie, so don't go in thinking that there's none of that, but I do have to say this does have more sweet and real life moments than like the spicy moments, and I feel like the spicy moments do make sense for the plot, so I really did enjoy this one. This couple is just so sweet, and I already just love them so much. Okay guys, that was the final award for this video and the final award for 2024, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little twist on the end of your book tag. And I'll have all the different awards that I mentioned in this video in the description, so you guys can go ahead and copy and paste yours in the comments down below, and I can see your opinions on the books that you read this year. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you watch until this far, go ahead and comment down below the trophy emoji so I know who the real ones are who watched until the very end. If you want to keep up with me on the daily, go ahead and follow my socials, Instagram, TikTok, Goodreads especially, if you want to keep up with what I'm reading in real time for the rest of the year. Those are all going to be linked down below like they always are in every single video. And yeah, I don't know, guys. I cannot believe that this is the last video of the year and also the last video of Bookmas. I feel like this year and Bookmas just went by so fast. And I've just felt so incredibly lucky to be able to yap about books with you guys this year. And I'm so thankful for all of you guys. If you haven't already checked out my other Bookmas videos, they will all be in a playlist linked down below for you to check out. And I don't really know what else to say other than I love you guys so much. And thank you so much for your constant support. I hope you all enjoyed Bookmas and I hope you're having an absolute amazing day. And I guess I will see you guys in the new year. Bye guys. Happy holidays. Try this again. Whoa. Ew. Bye guys.